For my research, I decided to focus on the Hispanic preschool population attending early childhood intervention programs like Head Start. I was interested in seeing why Hispanic children typically tend to perform low in literacy when compared to other ethnic groups like Caucasian and African American children. I found a study where the literacy growth of three ethnic groups, Caucasians, African Americans, and Hispanic children, was assessed. In this study, I found that across all of the literacy domains that were given, Hispanic children scored very low in all of the areas that were administered. Caucasians and African American children scored higher, but Hispanics did not. After seeing that my sample study performed so low in all of these literacy domains, I looked at the description of the study to see what characteristics the participants had in common. And I found that regardless of race, all of the participants came from low socioeconomic backgrounds. From this, I deducted that poverty is not the issue affecting the literacy development of my sample study because all of the participants came from low households and poverty was determined by federal guidelines. So I asked myself, what is the factor contributing to the low literacy growth of my sample study? I hypothesized that Hispanic children are scoring lower in literacy because English is not their first and only language. Generally, when you look at these three ethnic groups, Caucasians, African Americans, and Hispanic children, you see that Caucasian and African American children enter the classroom knowing English already because that tends to be their native language. That tends to be the first language that they learn at home. Whereas with Hispanic children, the first language that's usually taught to them at home is Spanish and not English. So I hypothesize that this is the reason why they're behind their peers when it comes to literacy, because they don't enter the classroom knowing English, and that puts them at a disadvantage. There was a study that concluded the same thing. They hypothesized that it was the language issue that was affecting the literacy development of Hispanic children. In this study, 750 Hispanic children were assessed in literacy. And the study said that because Spanish is not their first language, they tend to score lower in literacy when compared to other ethnic groups. To test the validity of my hypothesis, I decided to do an extensive literature review. The primary source that I used was Google Scholar. I chose 30 reviews because there was enough variance shown, and by that I mean that there were a lot of factors that were discussed in these 30 reviews. So I had 3 conditions for selecting the reviews that I chose. One of them was race. In each of the reviews that I selected from Google Scholar, I made sure that the Hispanic preschool population was part of the sample study. I also made sure that the children that were being assessed in this study, in these studies for these reviews, were 3 to 5-year-old children because my interest is in preschoolers, the literacy development of preschool Hispanic children. The third condition that I made sure when selecting the reviews was that they attended early childhood intervention programs like Head Start. The selection of my terms was based on several factors. I decided to use the term Hispanic because I pulled up some of the reports from Head Starts and some of their studies, and when they're talking about my sample study, they always, for the most part, they refer to the Hispanic population as Hispanic and not Latino. But I also included the term Latino in my search because after the first several articles that I pulled up from Google Scholar, I noticed that the reviews were analyzing other ethnic groups, but they were not analyzing the literacy development of Hispanic children. So I included the term Latino so that my results would be expanded, and they were. I found more articles that discussed the literacy development of my sample study and not other ethnic groups. The second term that I decided to use was literacy growth. Initially, when I first started looking for my reviews, I used the term literacy scores. But the only problem that I had with this term was that it didn't assess the literacy development of Hispanic children with different measures. It just used standardized testing to explain the literacy development of Hispanic children. And having worked at a Head Start preschool, I was able to witness how the children that I worked with did show literacy development, and these children were Hispanic. A majority of the children in this classroom were Hispanic, and I noticed that their literacy development could be assessed in other ways besides having them take tests. They could be assessed with parent interviews, questionnaires, and first-hand observations, which is why I chose the term literacy growth.